Good morning and welcome to the best home ever show of the Palm Beaches, Keller Williams Realty on Legends 100.3. Maria, Joshua, and baby Genesee will address your real estate concerns and bring you solutions. For more information, call 561-779-9452 or visit besthomeever.com. Now here are Maria, Josh, and Genesee.
Hello, it's Maria.
Josh.
And baby Genesee.
And together, we're the best home ever team with Keller Williams Palm Beaches.
Today, we have a very special guest, Marc Feinberg. He's a high-performance coach to athletes and entrepreneurs worldwide. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
I had this rabbi convert his garage into a
That's funny.
into a shul, like in upstate New York. I'm like, okay.
That's funny.
There's not enough up there or anything.
After my bar mitzvah, after my haftorah, I'm like, Mom, do I have to ever go back here again?
Right? That's really
When
funny.
your brother gets bar mitzvah in 2 years.
Oh, man.
2 years later, went to his bar mitzvah, and I was like, I never want to come back here again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, the religion
no other
was so
synagogue
painful.
to go to?
Huh?
There's no other synagogue to go to around there?
I mean, that's just how we did it, but
Yeah.
it was just a painful journey going through Hebrew school.
Oh,
and
I know.
Not knowing
That's
what anybody's talking about and what does all this mean and who's God. And my mother used to use God against me, like, God's going to get you.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Let's see. Let's see. I'll go
Right.
do this. I'll go do this. Oh, God didn't get me.
Mm-hmm.
Guess Mom's wrong. It was a horrible experience.
Yeah,
Aw.
no, that was kind of like for me, too. It was like Hebrew school is like a fight all the time to go. Not really quite, I don't think it was ever communicated and taught properly at home, right? If you look at it. Because I didn't get the importance of
Just
really
good
my bar
content.
mitzvah. I mean, I got I got it like rational. Maybe we should kind of. Okay, all right. I got it fundamentally speaking, but like as far as like a connection and a beingness around Judaism and
Yeah.
what that looks like,
Yeah.
I just wasn't connected to that. So.
What about when you got saved? Did it all come full circle for you?
Well, right. So yeah.
'Cause that's how it happened for me. It was
Yeah.
like all of a sudden I knew what it meant to be Jewish.
Correct. It's kind of been like our journey. I remember going through just finish real quick, like the Haftorah, like you were saying. I had flashbacks of not learning the trope with it and singing the Haftorah, just reading it, and just everybody out in the congregation just basically like looking like they're in pain or passing out.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of great stuff in there, of course, and it's nothing against it. It's just I wasn't connected to it, and then therefore I wasn't, pushing it out there. So, fast forward to Maria and I now. We've just been on this amazing journey. I don't think I've shared much of it with you actually yet, which is funny because we've always just seen each other in passing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we there's right as Maria and I were working on getting engaged and setting up our wedding and all that. Her father didn't want us to get married because he didn't really know me and where I stood with God, and that was a problem for him. And so. He basically told Maria that he didn't want her to marry me.
And you clearly grew up in the church as a Christian with Christian
Well,
parents.
she was
I'm guessing.
traditional Catholic.
Grew up in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we were like,
Same
so
thing as Judaism.
very similar.
Just a religious routine, right? I mean, nobody really knows why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, like for mine, I will say for synagogue, like Shabbat, like all that was really fun for me in my synagogue. It sounds like yours was just probably like very orthodoxal, maybe. Nothing was really explained. So there was some aspect that was explained. It was fun for me doing like Shabbat and everything and singing all the different songs. And that was fun for me. But again, it's just that connection, I think, with the Hebrew also, not really knowing exactly what you're saying and really learning that. But so Marie and I, after, let's see, it was how many months? What month was it? It doesn't really matter. So I'm in Maria's driveway at her father's house, and he did the typical, let me speak to my daughter for 10 or 15 minutes, do you mind waiting outside type of thing. This has happened many times. It was getting very uncomfortable for me because I didn't know what he was saying or what's going on, and so sometimes it would be Maria would just disappear for hours at a time and be at his house talking, and he would just it's nothing against John, he just gets very he just lectures and kind of talks to us or Maria at times, and it can just get very lengthy. And so I knew what I was kind of preparing for 10 or 15 minutes, right? And so I'm waiting, and 10 or 15 minutes go by, and I said, hey, if this can be a long time, I'll go off and do something, I can come back later. I didn't leave. Still waited. An hour goes by. I'm texting, calling, nothing. 2 hours. Finally gets to 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
At this point,
And you're outside the house?
I've been outside in the car the entire time.
You're a patient man.
Pissed. Now I was pissed because nobody came out or nothing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you could have come inside." I'm like, you said you want to talk to her privately. I'm not going to come up there and disrespect that, right? That was just how I was thinking of it. Trying to put it on me to come and interrupt. I mean, I don't know. It just didn't vibrate with me. So 2 hours and 15 minutes go by. Now I'm super pissed. I'm like, F that. Throw up I drive home. So 30 minutes, I'm literally pulling into the driveway, and Maria calls, and she is just frantic. She's just bawling, crying her eyes out. Oh, he doesn't want me to marry you, blah, blah, he won't be at our wedding or this or that, and he's not going to honor it. And just crying, and now I'm even more pissed because he's like, "Oh, it's because you don't believe in Jesus, or God, or what else did he say? I don't know. I forget what.
Your tattoos and you don't believe in Jesus.
Oh, right. Because my tattoos, I don't believe in Jesus. Now I'm really pissed because as a Jew, growing up as a Jew for me, I don't know what it was like for you, but there was a lot of friends that I had that were Christian that would almost kind of shun us in a way. It's really hard to explain. But, they would almost blame us for also, the Jews killed Jesus. Well, no, we didn't kill Jesus. Romans did. But then you can kind of get technical there. The Sadducees and Pharisees really kind of, orchestrated that. But without that, they wouldn't be saved anyway. So then, okay, so are you really mad at the Jews? I mean, if Jesus didn't get crucified and died for your sins, well, then you wouldn't be saved now. And so what's better? Anyways. But just that growing up as a Jewish teen, it was people, there was, you would get a lot of people coming at you in just different ways. So you kind of get that hard shell that whenever anybody comes at you and says, "Oh, you don't believe in Jesus and this and that," it's it's a huge just blast in the face, and you're like, "Well, who are you?" And so now I'm just really pissed. I turn all the way back around and drive another half hour, pick up Maria, and on the way home, I'm pissed. I'm dropping F-bombs. I'm just and we finally pull into the driveway. We're sitting in the car. And sometimes we would, if we had an argument or we needed to talk about something in depth, we would never get out of the car. We'd actually sit in the car before we get inside the house. We'd always hash it out before getting inside. So we're talking. And so finally I just, I'm like, well, I don't really know much about what your father believes or really know much about Christianity or Catholicism anyways, So, I'll go down this path with you. I'll go this journey. I'll learn about it, and I can't make any promises because I just don't know. But we'll see. And then so fast forward now, and Maria and I have been to Messianic synagogues and churches and different little groups out of a guy's, well, not his garage, but his living room.
Yeah.
Paul Neeson, which is a sweet, sweet man. Just didn't really connect with quite his message and his congregation, but he's doing great stuff there with the Messianic Jews there. Yahweh, as they pray to, of course. And then we kind of came around and went to Calvary. I don't always connect with everything that they say there. I'll be very straight, but I like how you got the worship and then you got the Bible study. It's about the Bible, and he'll bring up Hebrew translations and Greek, and he really does a good deep dive. I feel like more than most places, and I think that's where probably you were connected for a long time, was that connection and understanding. And I'll let you maybe kind of throw in some of your story here, because maybe you have some questions for me even. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So you gave your life to the Lord when?
Let's see.
So shortly after this whole ordeal that you just explained?
This was right before we got married. So this was we started the journey 2.5 years ago? 2 years ago now?
Beginning of 2021.
Yeah, beginning of 2021. And then so it obviously didn't happen right away, but I'm reading the Hebrew book of Matthew. I'm investigating this and that. One thing that spoke to me was Jesus would talk about Enoch, but in the Torah, Enoch is one or two sentences and that's it. But he was the first person to ascend to heaven.
Was no more.
Right. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I just could not just accept that. So I started reading the book of Enoch and getting more connected with that and what Jesus was talking about that, and learning more about. I've read the book, Case for Christ and all that. Some of the evidence in there didn't really quite connect with me, but there was enough in there for me to start investigating other ways. And
Lee Strobel's book,
yeah.
The Case for Christ.
Yeah. There's some how they use Paul for me more than like some of the other accounts was an issue that I just couldn't connect with. But there's other stuff, obviously, that the Jews, of course, didn't dispute that Jesus was, there, and a lot of people, which was funny actually. Maria, I don't know why this never really dawned on me. It's just kind of stupid in hindsight, but in Judaism, a lot of times even my father would be like, "Oh yeah, well Jesus was a prophet." Okay, well, if you believe that Jesus was a prophet, well then you believe that everything he said was true. If you believe everything that he said was true, well then you would believe that he is the Messiah, Son of God.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
So really you would believe that he's a false prophet, which is a whole different,
Right.
whole different classification. Read the Quran, and and even in the Quran it talks about how Yeshua was. I identify him with as Yeshua HaMashiach.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been this wild journey. There was one time we're in the shower, and I'm just thinking. I was reflecting. I don't know why. Obviously, God just He's just amazing. And puts things in your head. And you just think about it. So I was thinking about the Abraham story, and how Isaac doesn't get sacrificed up at the mount, and he then provides a ram that was stuck in the bushes there. But I was like, honey, how amazing is that? God, Isaac doesn't get sacrificed. God promises his own son later on down the road, and for all of our sins. Like, that's just amazing, right? She's like, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I was just like, to me, it was just like mind blowing. I was like, that's so cool, But
Wow.
it's funny.
And how's you and Dad now?
We've had some fun conversations. Just the other night, we were over at Christopher's Kitchen because it's kosher, or mostly kosher for them there. I think the bread is not for whatever reason. But
Her dad?
Oh,
His dad.
oh, sorry.
I'm like,
Sorry.
Her dad's not kosher,
Sorry.
is he?
I actually have three.
You converted him too?
Right? Yeah. We're getting there. But, he's a Chabadnik, so he goes to Chabad over at PGA and the Turnpike there.
Your dad does?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, her father and I, we get along great. He's even gone so much as to say that I'm one of his best friends. So
That's beautiful.
I know.
yeah.
Wow. What a resurrection in that relationship, huh?
Yeah, right. Comes to honor thy father, and that's kind of what was echoing in my head too that night. Is and I was still kind of coming back to my faith, right, and kind of finding what that means for me. As getting into a deeper relationship and looking into marriage and joining our union, becoming one flesh. Honor thy father is one of the most important commandments. And he is my father. So whether I like it or not, that is what's so, right? And so I need to investigate that and honor him and see where this goes. And so then, therefore, here's what happened, right? So now we have a good relationship. And, yeah, we butt heads. I mean, there's no question there. He and I are both very strong personalities that have views on different sides here and there. But at the end of the day, he knows that I respect him and love him and that I'm always going to take care of his daughter, And then my parents got divorced after 32 years of marriage. So I have now 3 fathers and 2 mothers. And yeah, so my father, after his battle with addiction, he really dove into Judaism and walks to shul, observes the Sabbath, keeps kosher to the letter.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty amazing to have this whole world of. So we go and do Shabbat dinner. We're going to go to...
And he recently told his father about his whole coming to Yeshua moment.
Oh, I didn't even share that part of the story either. So, let's see. My father, where do I start? My father's always battled with addiction, right? The day I was born, on December 3rd, 1982, my father wrote a letter to me about his addiction, battling with that. And he went right into rehab.
The day you were born, he went into rehab?
Yeah, he checked in.
Wow.
He spent, obviously, time with me and my mother first.
Yeah.
Probably the next day or the day, but that's when he... Because my mother gave him an ultimatum. She said, either you get cleaned up or you're not going to see your son ever again.
Yeah.
So he did that. And fast forward, when I was 21, a friend of mine got a DUI. and I went and picked him up because his car was impounded, and brought him home. And when I got home, my father had handed me the letter when I was 21. Because I have battled with, alcohol abuse and addiction. I wouldn't say as extreme. It's just different, right? Because if I start to compare it, it's just different. So I could see myself kind of doing that path, and I have for many years even after that, which thankfully I've kind of gotten a lot of control over with God and getting connected with that. But this letter is just a tearjerker. You can see the love just pouring into me, or just pouring out of this letter, right? And I couldn't finish a sentence without just crying the whole time reading this letter. So then fast forward, we're in Israel, and I bring the letter with me. And so I go out in front of the Wailing Wall, and I read the whole letter, crying again. Maria records the whole thing. And I fold up the letter, and then I obviously stop recording. And then I go down by myself to the men's side of the wall, because there's split men and women. And that's more so, that's not about a sexist thing, by the way. That's more about not being distracted by your wife, and so you can have a true connection with God without being distracted. It's not about men or women being better. Actually, the Jewish faith actually honors women more than women. Or excuse me, they honor women more than men. So, it's always the man's job to take care of the woman and to satisfy her in all her needs and to take care of her and honor her and cherish her. And Shabbat, by the way, the Psalms 20...
Proverbs 39.
Proverbs 39, where it talks about the woman and her and all her glory. That's every Shabbat that prayer is said, So, just a little aside. And so I fold up the letter, I put it in the wall, and I start praying. I read Genesis, I think just basically the creation story, and I close my eyes, and I'm leaning against the wall, and I'm just kind of meditating at this point, saying my own little personal prayer. And then there's a face as my eyes are closed. You know how when your eyes are closed you can kind of see shadows, and there was like a face talking to me, and I couldn't make out what they was saying. And so I told Maria this afterwards, and she's like, "Oh, it's Jesus." Now it did look like Jesus, but I didn't want to admit that yet, because I wasn't quite there yet. So I was like, "Oh, it did also look like Moses. It could have been Moses, or maybe Abraham. You never know. They all, just I just didn't want to admit that it was Yeshua yet,
This is 2019, right before COVID.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so she would bring it up, and I'd bring it up, and I was like, well, someone, I don't know if it was, Yeshua or not, but, just kind of just playing coy with it. And then, so now we're actually at Calvary, up in Indiantown, and there's a portion, with the worship, obviously, at the beginning of the service, and I always like to read the words and connect with God, and then it just gets very spiritual for me, and, I'll cry a lot of times and just get really connected, And in one of those moments, there's like a voice speaking to me about what my job is, or what my purpose is, and what the voice was what Jesus was actually saying to me. Yeshua was saying to me, and it's that I am to bring both Gentile and Jew together to our religion, to our faith. And, that looks like bringing, Judaism to believe in Yeshua is the Messiah, the HaMashiach, and Christianity to come into Judaism, because I feel like they've fallen way to the wayside. There's a lot of practices that are not Judaism, not Jewish-based. I'm not going to, get down that road, because that's a whole different conversation. But they've kind of lost track of the law and God and all that. And so that's what my purpose is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember when he had that vision on the rooftop, and God said, "Don't call unclean what I call clean."
Oh, right.
Now go to Cornelius' house. He's waiting for you. There's 3 men downstairs, by the way.
Right.
And he opens his eyes, and there's like, there's 3 guys down there. Oh.
Right.
All right, I better go to Cornelius' house.
That's funny.
And then they all get saved, and they get baptized, and that's a really cool analogy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
It's like Peter was like, "What? I'm going to a Gentile's house?"
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And God's like, "Josh, I need you to bring these Gentiles over here. Bring them a little closer to to the Hebrew way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, and Peter was the foundation, the rock.
Peter started all that.
Yeah, well, Jesus was like, yeah, you're my foundation, my rock. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, kind of interesting the journey he had, and the journey Paul had was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's great. I love the name Joshua.
Yeah, it's Yeshua. Actually, my Hebrew name is Yeshua.
The Lord is my
Daniel.
Savior.
Yep, Danielle.
Yep.
That's
Your
my-
Hebrew name is what?
Yeshua Danielle.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So Daniel, judge. Judge.
God is my judge.
Yeah, God is my judge.
Yeah. My daughter's name is Danielle. My son's name is Josh.
Nice.
Joshua.
wow.
He calls himself Josh.
Yeah, I did.
Even Jonathan's like, my name is Jay, Dad. Like, your name's Jonathan, son.
I named you Jonathan.
Named you Jonathan. I know you're 22 and you got it all going on, but I'm still calling you Jonathan. You call yourself whatever you want.
That's funny. I could so identify with that. I remember, like, as a kid, like Joshua, just being called Joshua was like so like just old and adult, you know.
Yeah.
But now it's Joshua. I like it.
Yeah.
You know? I still go by Josh most of the time 'cause it's just
Mm-hmm.
just quicker and easier for people. But and then my middle name is David, so it's really cool because Yeshua. Well, I actually thought, I don't know how I got this because I just connected it myself without really verifying with my father for many years. I thought my Hebrew name was Yeshua David because David. No, it's Danielle because when I was named, well, there was someone in the family that was still alive at that time, which was David.
So you couldn't take their name.
Correct. Right. So, but it's cool because Daniel is my favorite character in the Torah.
Yeah.
And
Is he really?
Oh yeah, I love
Daniel is?
Daniel. Yeah, just he's just always a man of faith.
Yeah.
Just was just steadfast and I mean, look at the faith that he had. I mean, going into the furnace and then the lion's den, and I mean, just
amazing.
Just his faith, just keeping it even kosher.
Yeah.
So he's one of my favorite. Obviously, David for different reasons, of course, and Yeshua. I mean, Joshua. There's, obviously Joshua taking his people into the promised land,
Right.
And then Yeshua, then later on, bringing us again to the promised land. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Joshua saw, 40 years before that they could take the land.
right,
I don't know if it was at 40, maybe
40 years.
like he waited 40 years. Him and Caleb, they were like, come on, let's go. What are we doing? And the other 8 spies or 10 spies, there were 12 spies. So the other 10 spies were like, no, these are giants. We can't go.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we're going. God's going to fight this battle for us. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
No, we can't go.
And that's why they had to wait the 40 years for the sin to be kind of purged out, or the non-belief to be purged out, so that then they finally did have the faith 40
It's
years
unbelievable that and when I'm sitting at a traffic light for like 15 seconds, I'm like, why isn't it changing? 40 years.
Right?
All right, come on, we're going in.
Yeah, speaking of which, Josh just turned 40 the other weekend,
Yeah,
so
that's actually funny.
that's like your whole lifetime, just
Yeah.
wandering around the desert.
Sheesh. Right?
Now you're headed to the promised land.
That's right.
Here we go.
And thank you, Mark, for being on the show, for pouring into our listeners. And if people want to get in contact with you about your high-performance coaching, what's the best way to reach you?
Oh, awesome. I think they can reach out to you, or they can go to my website, marcfeinberg.com, marcfeinberg.com. And can we offer them a free coaching session?
Absolutely.
Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
So that's right on there. They'll be able to, click on a form and schedule a calendar date with me as well.
Awesome. Perfect.
We hope everyone has a very blessed week, and stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Best Home Ever show of the Palm Beach's Keller Williams Realty. Join Maria, Josh, and baby Genesee next Saturday at 9:30 and call the team with any questions you have, 561-779-9452, or visit besthomeever.com.